As anti-Semitism continues to rise across America, a small coffee company stands boldly with Israel. And are states doing enough to protect taxpayers? All of this and more tonight on Unclassified. Hello, America. Welcome to Unclassified. You know, one of the defining stories over the past 2 years has been the dramatic rise in anti-Semitism, not just overseas, but right here at home, right here in the good old USA. It's affected college campuses, corporate America, houses of worship, and even small businesses simply because of where they stand. Tonight, we'll hear from one entrepreneur who chose to publicly stand with Israel and discovered just how powerful and costly that decision could be. Later, we'll turn our attention to government accountability here at home, discussing some of the latest headlines surrounding oversight, fraud, and prevention, and responsible stewardship of your taxpayer dollars. She's running for Congress in California's 47th district. We'll get started in just a moment with that. But now, our first guest is an entrepreneur, proud supporter of Israel, and founder of one of the fastest growing, mission-driven coffee companies in America. Through Iron Dome Coffee, Justin Yehuda has built more than a business. He's built a brand centered around supporting Israel, standing against anti-Semitism, and encouraging people to stand for their convictions, even when it's unpopular. Justin, welcome to Unclassified. Thank you for being here on a holiday for you.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, explain what that is. Today is the day that the destruction of the temple is remembered. Explain that for us, the audience, in case they don't know.
Yes, so today is a holiday called Tisha B'Av, and pretty much it's a day that commemorates many of the sad things that have happened throughout Jewish history, particularly the destructions of the first and second temple. So today is a fast day where we don't eat or drink any water to commemorate those things that have happened. And I'm pretty hungry, but I'm still sharp as a tack, and I'm going to give you everything I got today.
And thank you again for being with us. It's great to have you here. For viewers who may not know your story, tell us a little about yourself, what led an Israeli living in New York to launch Iron Dome Coffee, what the mission did the company want to accomplish, and what you're doing. Tell us about that.
Of course. So I think my story is in many ways similar to many other experiences of Jewish New Yorkers, where after October 7th, I was completely devastated by what had been happening in the city. I live in New York City. I'm here right now, as you might see. And I think the consequences of what has happened after October 7th have just been awful to watch. We see anti-Semitism at a level that hasn't been experienced in my lifetime. And as an Israeli American, my family's in Israel. My cousin fell in battle a little bit over a year ago today. And I just felt like a coward that I wasn't doing anything to support my brothers and sisters in Israel. So I dropped everything. I left my corporate job and I started Iron Dome Coffee, which is an online coffee company that you can see on irondomecoffee.com. And we donate 18% of our profits to organizations that are rehabilitating wounded soldiers in Israel and that are making real impact in the country. So I'm doing something that not only do I really believe in, but that also enables me to grow as an entrepreneur. And I think that's a very unique thing in the year of 2026 where you can really do that.
Yeah, it's a reality to Israelis. Every time a life is lost, I'm sorry for the loss you have. May his memory be a blessing. You live in New York City. There's been a great deal of discussion following Zoran Mamdani's comments regarding Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. As someone who's both Israeli and a New Yorker, what concerns you most about the direction of public conversation and how many in the Jewish community in New York are feeling right now when Mamdani says, I want to arrest Netanyahu, he's not welcome here?
Yeah, first of all, this is one of the most ridiculous things that I've seen in my lifetime. Of course, Zoran Mamdani is not able to arrest Prime Minister Netanyahu, and everybody knows that. The United States is not a signatory to the International Criminal Court. And in fact, when you do some digging, the guy who actually put out this arrest warrant, Karim Khan was his name, he was under fire for sexual misconduct. And this is something that he did on his way out as he was indicted of that. So to be honest with you, it feels just more political than anything I've ever seen in my life. He's not able to actually make any change, and everybody's aware of that. But what he's done, which is just terribly effective, and I hate it as an Israeli in New York, is he has used Israel and Palestinians, for that matter, to further his political cause. This is somebody who cares about nothing other than himself. He has become it feels like a cult leader here in New York City. You got to feel weird when you talk about him, because so many people will talk about how much they love him. And I think that's just a terrible thing, because what he represents is not only against American values, but I think it's against my own values as an Israeli American, trying to move the world forward in whatever way I can.
Every time I watch him, I feel like I'm looking at a teenager throwing a temper tantrum or something. It's the weirdest vibe I get when I watch him. Is the city more unified or less unified with him in charge?
I mean, I would say more unified, but for the worse. I think people are uniting around these ideas that he put forward, because, by the way, it definitely is a problem here when it comes to affordability, but he took that and connected it to Israel in a way that only he was able to do. And I think that's just a massive problem. So people here are more united because everybody feels the affordability crisis. It's not an easy city to get by, of course, but he connected that feeling to hatred for Israel. And that's a travesty. Israel is fighting for the world. I really believe in that. They are fighting against enemies that the rest of the world does and would fight if they were placed in front of them. And I think that enemy is just radical terrorism. It's Islamism. I think many other countries are dealing with this, and Israel is the front line in this fight. So when you try to break down this reality and you try to distort what people see, you end up with this hatred of Israel that only reminds me and only reminds my family of Jewish history from hundreds of years ago, and even from not that long ago. And I think that that's the most important thing. We need to learn from Jewish history and see that this is an example of it.
Less than 100 years ago in Europe in 1930s. It's frightening. I wish I wasn't seeing this in my own country. It's like people have forgotten October the 7th, and we've watched anti-Semitism become more visible, not just on college campuses, but in cities. So let me ask you business-wise, what's it been like experiencing that firsthand as a business owner and a member of the Jewish community? I mean, Iron Dome Coffee, that you're pretty out there with that title.
No kidding, right? And when I started the company, I chose the name Iron Dome particularly because it shows strength, and it's Israel's symbol of freedom. Where would Israel be without the Iron Dome? It is defending thousands upon thousands of ballistic missiles from pouring into the country. So to answer your question about how has that been for me, it's kind of been a mixed bag. On one hand, it's wonderful that every time I go home and I sit down at a cafe, people will come up to me and say, thank you for what you're doing for Israel. Thank you for being a positive voice for good in the world. And that makes me feel better than ever. And I say that honestly. But it's also incredibly weird that every day I wake up to messages on my social media telling me to do I don't know what I can and can't say, but they're telling me just the worst things imaginable. I get hundreds of those messages every single day. I've had to, deal with security firms that trying to figure out what is, the best move for me. How can I stay safe? But I didn't even think this would be a problem. I don't understand why it is. And to be honest with you, I think it's a shame. And I think it's a way to understand what's going on in this world. People just hate Israel. And, for me as a Jewish American, as an Israeli American, I'm definitely dealing with that on a daily basis. And I can't lie to you, it's a little scary.
I understand. And one of the more encouraging stories I've heard, though, has been the overwhelming support you've received from Christians with your coffee company. In fact, you said that roughly 65% of your customers are Christians, and you've recently partnered with a group that I love dearly, Christians United for Israel. Why do you think so many Christians have chosen to stand visibly with Israel during this season?
Well, absolutely. First of all, Christians United for Israel is an incredible organization, and I'm very, very happy to partner with them. And to answer your question about why so many Christians have taken to Iron Dome Coffee, I think it's because these values that we represent are very well known to be Judeo-Christian values. Our civilization is built on a united set of shared values. And I'm one of these people who's coming forward and trying to defend them. I think when I put my face online and I talk about Israel and I talk about these values that I'm defending, it feels familiar to people. It feels supportive for people. This is something that a lot of people want to get behind. And even through a good cup of coffee, people are able to really embrace these values and embrace their support for Israel. And I'm so glad that we have so many Christian Zionists in the United States. Some people with a microphone like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens might not love these people. But to be honest with you, I feel like they're keeping our country upright. And I believe in that deeply because I think their values, especially when it comes to Israel, especially when it comes to having pride in your country, these are things that I agree with deeply and that I fight for on a daily basis.
Well, listen, you cannot deny that this country is founded on Judeo-Christian values. I mean, and if you're a Christian, the very guy you believe in is Jewish. We got to admit that. You've had opportunity to speak with leaders at CUFI, Christian United for Israel, at their conference. What impressed you the most about the relationship you see developing between evangelical Christians and the Jewish community?
I'll be honest with you. I think it's the most beautiful thing that I've ever been a part of in my lifetime. And that's saying, that's a big statement to say. But I think that when we stand shoulder to shoulder against terrorism, especially religious terrorism in the Middle East, our world is better for it. And I personally believe that God is smiling when he sees Jews and Christians standing against hatred like that. One example that I would give you is I've become really close friends with a man named Pastor Scott Thomas from Lakeland, Florida. And it's a very interesting friendship. It's not like a friendship that I've ever had before, but I think it's exactly that. It's the two of us saying we have a worldview where we can find commonalities, where we want to make this world a better place. And we both believe, evidently, that God is smiling when he sees the two of us standing together and fighting for what we believe in and fighting for liberty and fighting for Israel. And that's one relationship of many that I developed after my introduction to CUFI. And I think it's just been evident throughout Iron Dome Coffee's short history.
So here's the thing. The Bible says in the book of Psalms how good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell together in unity. Finally, Justin, after everything you've experienced over the past couple of years, personally, professionally, and spiritually, what gives you hope for the future of Israel and for the relationship with the American people and Christians and Jews, even in a spiritual sense?
Sure. Well, at the bottom of everything I do is a genuine and strong belief that I'm not here by accident. I say this as often as I can because this is what I believe in. Whether it's one way, whether it's another way, that's for everybody to decide on their own. But I believe that I'm here on purpose. I believe that I'm here to accomplish some goal. And when I looked into my heart and I wondered what that was, my goal is to stand up for my brothers and sisters in Israel from within the United States. My cousin lost his life defending Israel at 28 years old, and it still breaks my heart to this day. There's nothing I want to do more than go to Israel and give his mother a hug. And I say that as honestly as possible. When I see so many people feel the same way about Israel and about faith and about purpose and mission, this is really what I've been dedicating my life towards. And I think there's so many more people out there in the United States who feel this way too.
I agree.
That's what I would tell you.
You've made a way for people to support Israel in a tangible way that also blesses them. Here it is, Iron Dome Coffee. I've got some right here. I use the K-Cups. This is the filter bags. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate not only the work you're doing through Iron Dome Coffee, but your willingness to stand publicly for your convictions and encourage others to do the same. Learn more about Iron Dome Coffee, their mission, and the work they're doing to support Israel. Be sure to visit their website. Follow Justin across social media. Thank you again, sir, for joining us on Unclassified tonight.
Thank you so much.